G'day everyone, Duckville here, got a Protoss versus Terran for you. Today it is going to be on Star Station TE. Up at the top, the top left-hand side of our Protoss themed map is our Protoss themed player here in the red. It is, well, obviously FF7 Cloud Strife, but we may know him as Gaulzi, one of the I guess one of the best Protoss cannon rushes you will ever see in StarCraft 2. He's of course well known. There was a Day 9 special which featured some cheesy stuff and also had cannon rushing featured on it, where a lot of replays from Gaulzi were mentioned in there. He's been up in GM for quite a while, and also I believe this account was actually just leveling through Masters. So that's what we're going to have here today. His opponent down at the bottom right hand side, our Masters Blue Terran player here from ESI1, SI1, I'm not sure. It is Juggler. And he's about to face the wrath of some cannons, it would seem. Coming down here is the initial probe. Now, Gaulzi, of course, as I mentioned, is a player who has, in a way, kind of mastered cannon rushing. I mean, a lot of people will say, it's very easy to cannon rush. You put pylons down, you put cannons down, and, you know, in a way, that's true. When you're playing at lower levels, it's not exactly rocket surgery to do cannon rushes. When you're playing against top, you know, higher level players, let's bear in mind that Masters and GM is now what, like, you know, 1% of the player base now, considering that a whole bunch of people have been bumped down to, you know, Diamond and Platinum and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, there are certain things that you do have to, you know, get a hold of when you are playing. And as you can see here, something that Gaulzi does like to do here is take advantage of positioning on the map here. And what you can do is you can put your pylon down, and then you'll actually use it as like a semi-wall. So what we've done here is that we have limited the surface area for SCVs to attack into the cannon that's just here, because you of course do need around 4 workers to take down a building such as this that is in a process of construction. And if you don't have the 4, then it will generally get up inside. So what Gaulzi has decided to do is limit the amount of surface area for that SCV. And the first, despite there being a Marine out, he's actually going to finish up that cannon. We get a second, a third one all going down. Juggler's going to attempt to set some defense up to try and counter this. But I mean, this is also working into Gaulzi's favor, because again, if the SCVs were pulled, there's very little surface area to attack into these cannons, just because of the fact that the bunker actually controls, sort of blocks off one side. The Rax is also blocking off a side there, so it's it gets very technical. And I know a lot of people are saying this is all just silly. Juggler should have responded better, but I mean, he saw that pylon a lot earlier, and he's seen obviously that there are now going to be a lot of cannons to deal with. So wisely, he's getting a factory down at the back. You want to get to your siege tanks as quickly as you can. And one thing, another very small thing that Gaulzi does, but it really makes a difference, is using the cannons to target down SCVs. Forget the bunker, you're never going to kill that as long as there are SCVs repairing it. So what you do is take out the worker count, and as you can see, despite the fact that Gaulzi has gone for some cheese here, he's actually way in the lead now. We've got 6 workers ahead for him at 14-8, so things are looking very good for our Protoss player here. Juggler is going to be struggling for a moment. He is going to have to continue to deal with some of these cannons that are off to the side. A Marine comes out, is not being targeted by the cannons. Now, it is important to note that, of course, the Marines have 6 range. They get a small bonus when you are inside, the bunker, and still, that means it's a 7. The cannon range is, it looks like it's, wait, I'm not sure why. Okay, he's just out of range there of the cannons, so he's not able to hit these cannons, and that is going to be a real unfortunate little position here for Juggler. Oh, sorry, the range is 5, and you get the +1. I'm just completely off the ball there. The Marine range is 5, you get +1 from the bunker, which means that your range is 6, so cannons outrange them. That's what I was looking for before. My bad, guys. So Juggler finally gets his first tank out. He's got a total of 11 SCVs right now. The tank will obviously deal with these cannons as time goes on, but you are going to slowly lose some of the resources here at you know, repairing this bunker. And what this does, it gives Gaulzi a little bit of time back at home. He's going to get a gateway. We got a cybernetics core on the way. Second gas is up. We're still waiting for a little bit more gas inside this particular assimilator here, but there is another probe on the way down, and I wonder what that is heading down for. But the cannons slowly being torn apart by the siege tank fire. The lovely Crucio shock cannon is going to be laying down some pain there with its massive splash damage. And finally, Juggler clears this out. He's dealt with the cannon rush, but he has suffered 10 SCV losses. So he is going to have to deal with that as we move forwards in this game. It looks like Gaulzi is going to be setting up some kind of proxy building here. I'm going to imagine it's a Stargate. Yeah, it's going to be a Stargate. So we've got some very close. I can hear the groans. If you groan, I can hear you right now. I'm actually in the past, because obviously I have to upload this replay, but I'm in the past and I can hear you groaning. Cannon rush into oracles, we're going to assume it is. I don't think it would be anything else. I don't think Void Rays are a great idea, neither are Phoenix at this point. But is Gaulzi prepared for the counter-attack? As moving across the map is Juggler. He's got a few Marines, he's got a single tank here, and there are basically no units inside this main base. The Mothership Core is out, but it's a very, very late Mothership Core, meaning that there is no photon overcharge here, so Gaulzi's going to have to pull out some of the probes, and that is exactly what he does, streaming them down to try and surround some of these units before they can get too much damage done. You obviously want to be very careful with that Mothership Core. If that goes down, then of course you are in a bit of trouble, because of the fact that well, the Mothership Core, it's quite handy to have that one out there. So Gaulzi is going to have to be very careful with that. I just realized that my hit point bars are off. Let me just fix that for you guys. Hang on. There we go. Alright, we'll just put it on all at the moment, just because it saves a little bit of time and you can see what's going on better. But Gaulzi finally does clean it up. There is one tank now inside the main base. There is a single Marine also on the way, looking to try and use the Marine to help clean up the Mothership Core, but there is too much health on that one at the moment. Marine goes down, gets sliced apart, half of his body jumping up in the air, and now the tank goes down. That Zealot does survive. Meanwhile, the Oracle, 11 kills, has now picked up a whole bunch of those workers there that we just saw down in the corner, and Gaulzi's going to be very happy with the position he's in at the moment, despite losing some of his SCVs and still under a small amount of threat because of the tank, and then of course the Marine that have just wandered in. But he has been able to kill off a whole bunch of his opponent's workers, and that still keeps him in the race for this game. But mules are going to help Juggler out. Are they going to be able to help him out enough is the big question. But we can see now that well, for Juggler, he knows there is some kind of Stargate tech somewhere out on the map. Gaulzi with a probe just down at the natural base, being very careful right now. We've got Warpgate tech finally starting out here. A little bit slow once again. Well, obviously a lot slow, but a little bit slower than I thought it would be for Gaulzi. But not to worry, he's still got that Oracle out and can do a little bit more damage. Oracles can really clean up Marines if they're out by themselves, and there's kind of less than... If there's less than like 4 of them, then they can then the Oracle can do really well. But, of course, the turret is now protecting the mineral line here for Juggler. He's got his, well, he's got the 1 racks, the 1 factory, and the 1 starport, looking very similar to an old play we used to see back in Wings of Liberty in PvT. And I wonder if Juggler is going to go back to it here. He's got a couple of Hellions just making their way out now. One is already across the map and is looking to try and see what Gaulzi is up to. What's he going to see? Well, a natural's going up. We got a couple of Zealots here trying to protect the base, but unfortunately Zealots don't do too well against Hellions when they're properly micro. The Oracle comes back though and should be able to handle this. This is one thing that I get really worried about sometimes when people group up their units, is you can get smashed apart if a Hellion gets a good shot off on clumped up units. So at that point, I kind of feel like it may have been better for Gaulzi just to leave the workers on the mineral line, because one Hellion's not exactly going to get a lot of splash damage down, and it's not going to be too much of a threat. But this one does get in there and does get a couple of shots off. Some of the probes slightly softened up by that attack there, but as you can see, Gaulzi is, yeah, it is looking like it's going to be a little bit of a version of the old 1-1-1 that we used to see from Terran players, and it's something that was such a powerful kind of tactic to be utilized in this matchup. Is a 1-1-1. You get your tanks out for some long-range siege damage. You get your Marines out for protection against air and of course some of the ground targets as well. And then you normally would have Banshees are thrown in. But, of course, because Juggler has been struggling on his resources, he's not going to have the ability to get them out. What he does have are a couple of Vikings to help out, maybe get rid of the Mothership Core if it's about. And also he is going to have at least one medevac popping out shortly, which will help him a little bit. But Gaulzi is now, he knows that there is a little bit of trouble coming. The Photon Overcharge is activated on the Nexus. Does outrange tanks, keep in mind. Tanks have a range of 13, and the Photon Overcharge has a range of, I believe it's 14, if memory serves me right. Or maybe it's the same. I can't remember exactly, but I believe it's very close, if not just a tiny bit further than the siege tanks. But as you can see, Gaulzi is going to have to deal with the units, and they're slowly going to continue trickling up here. We've got you know, a couple of Marines every now and then. We'll probably have a tank as well, but Gaulzi's not going to stand on ceremony himself. He is going to jump inside the main base, getting some damage done with these few zealots that he has. He walked in a couple at this proxy pylon that's over here, and now, well, when this overcharge wears out, that's going to be really interesting to see. In fact, there you go. If Juggler is going to push in, because he is going to have the potential to get some serious damage done. But one thing that he would also be very good to do is take control of this top area here, because then he has range on attack in the natural nexus and the main base as well. The Oracle, unfortunately for Gaulzi, does fall down. And Gaulzi, I mean, he's now looking like he's in a little bit of trouble. The Probe's having to evacuate down towards the natural ramp, but they are going to try and deal with their aggressors. The Hellions are going to be in a little bit of trouble. Gaulzi trying to target down the tanks. Unfortunately, the tanks, of course, very, very strong. Sentry's forced to back off right now. Would love to see maybe even a couple of hallucinations just to go and annoy the tanks there, but was not able to get that out in time. Mothership Core activating the Photon Overcharge yet again. One of the Vikings getting very low. Just back on Juggler's side, his few remaining SCVs. He's got, what, 3 here and then a couple of mules, and then he's got, of course, a couple over on this side of the map as well. Juggler looking to take control of that high ground there. The 2 Stalkers that are here, will they be able to pick off that tank? It's getting to around about half health, so it's getting close to being taken down. But, I mean, the Marines and a single tank here are just very strong against Stalkers. Like, you can... It's just something that becomes very, very hard to deal with. And now, as Gaulzi is starting to feel the heat a bit, I think Juggler is going to move up to the top of the ramp here. The SCVs, they maybe even build a bunker or a turret or something just to protect this tank a little bit more. But with more and more units now coming, a 3rd tank is going to be here as well for Juggler, and that is going to give him a really, really nice advantage. So Gaulzi, couple of cheese plays for him are looking like they may not pay off as well as we would think. It looks like with his Stalkers now coming forwards, will they be able to deal with the tank? It's getting very low. A pickup there from Juggler, wonderfully done. Picks up and saves that tank. It's now going to be able to siege up. We've got a couple of SCVs here to repair. Even the Viking is now on the ground to help out with the damage that is needed to be done here. And, well, for Gaulzi, I mean, what are you going to do from here? This is something which is very reminiscent of the old 1-1-1 that you used to see, pushing in on the natural nexus, even to take advantage of the high ground, building up a turret or 2 as well, and it can really save your bacon if you're really well prepared. And Juggler has done a really good job. Loses a tank, which is a little bit unfortunate, but he still has a lot of Marines. Takes out one of the pylons. Gaulzi starting to fall down in his supply as well. He's sitting at 44 right now, which is not exactly the lowest, but it is starting to slowly fall down. If this natural goes down, he could be in a lot of trouble. He does still have a probe across the map. We can see a second one there as well, just sitting by that Stargate. Juggler has started to get a few more of his SCVs back up and running. Every now and then he's just throwing 1 or 2 out, and is now going to put some into the gas as well. But Gaulzi has now lost a lot of his probes as well. He's down to 19 probes at this point. Keep in mind, 2 of them are across the map. And now he's going to charge forwards, wants to try and take care of this bunker, or at least a tank. Both would be preferable. He takes down one of the tanks, maybe gets an SCV or 2, gets a Marine, a couple of the SCVs, nicely done. The repair on this bunker, it does go down, finally. One part of the, I guess, multi-part threat here of Juggler has now been dealt with. Oh, very, very cute stuff. This is now walled off, so even Zealots can't charge down the ramp to try and get to these tanks or anything. There are a couple of pylons over here, but I doubt he's going to warp in on the low ground. But this is some very, very clever stuff here from Mr. Juggler. But the mule dropping down, repairing the tank up. There is going to be this bunker up and running in a second. Juggler just double checking where is everything, alright? How many units does he have? He's got some stalkers, he's got a couple of zealots as well. And it looks as if Gaulzi is going to have a 4th gate very soon. We'll see how that's going to help him out, but what he has gotten done are a couple of zealots across the map. The SCVs had to retreat for a moment. I don't like the decision to put them on attack there from Juggler. He has lost a couple of those SCVs unnecessarily. He's coming back across to deal with the tank, but if you put those SCVs on attack, then they'll obviously get attacked by the zealots there, and so he has lost almost all of his workers. We have 1 mule out. We've got 2 SCVs over on this side of the map. So Juggler has lost almost all of his workers. Gaulzi still has 19 probes remaining. He has a little bit of money left in the bank, but this may be his last play here. The Stalker's looking to get some work done, sniping out the bunker, getting rid of a couple of the Marines too. But he's got 2 tanks on the low ground that he just cannot deal with. He cannot get in range. The Marines are protecting them. The tanks obviously cover each other quite nicely as well. And I mean, this is a tough spot. What are you going to do from here? I'm trying to figure it out. He's going to have energy for a photon overcharge very soon. If he baits some of the units into the photon overcharge, you could snipe a couple of them down. Like, I mean, if the Marines, if there's only a few of those Marines there, like 3 or 4 Marines, then he may be able to just charge up and deal with them. Oh, but now there's a 3rd tank, so there is a 3rd tank, and things are starting to look very grim for our Protoss player here. He has a little bit of Chrono Boost left over. Where is the Mothership Core? She's over here. Almost has enough energy, and I'm assuming we are going to see the photon overcharge in a second here. Will it help though? Because he needs to be able to do something to these Marines. But no, he's got another. Okay, he's got the extra Nexus down here at his opponent's side of the map. Juggler has seen this, but hasn't been able to deal with it. So I think that Gaulzi is just going to try and hope that he can bust out of here, or maybe in fact, hang on, he might be able to recall here as his best option, and I think that may be what Gaulzi is up to. The Nexus is still only halfway done, so he has to bide his time and not lose any of these workers. If he can do that, that would certainly be a wonderful play from the Icelandic Protoss player. He's sort of marching forwards and saying, I might be coming at you, I might not be. And Juggler, well, he's thinking, I've got this in the bag. I mean, I'm going to be able to take this one down. Now Gaulzi waiting for that Nexus to complete. The Nexus is now under fire. A couple of those Marines just sitting here, but they're not going to be able to deal with it before it finishes construction. Gaulzi just wandering down the back, and like, this is starting to get very precarious for Gaulzi right now as the Marines are slowly approaching. Will they be able to get in there in time? The Nexus now completes, and Gaulzi is probably just going to say, peace out, I am out of here. Moves down towards the bottom base on the other side of the map, and he can re-establish his mining here and start to take control of the Protoss main base. And wow, Juggler is well aware of this. He says, I am out of here, I'm not dealing with any of that. The Stalkers are now roaming inside. The Zealots are going to be able to clear up the rest of this as well. What looked like a very, very dangerous position for Gaulzi to be in has now switched around completely. He's not out of the woods 100%, I wouldn't say, but he is in a very strong position, and part of the reason we can see on the units table there is because there are only 2 workers left for Juggler. So he's going to have to find somewhere to land. He'll have to drop down a couple of mules perhaps. I would possibly, I'm trying to think of where the best spot would be. Maybe the natural? Maybe Gaulzi's natural would be a good idea. Clear out those 2 pylons and then land up there. That might be his best option, and we'd have possibly the most literal base trades in the history of StarCraft 2. But Gaulzi comes across, clears out the last few remaining Terran buildings inside this side of the map. His Stargate is also producing a Void Ray, that could be quite helpful. As you move into these weird positions as a Terran player, it's actually really, really advantageous to try and land the starport somewhere, build a tech lab, and try and get a Banshee out. But the problem for Juggler, which we can see down here on the bar, is that we have him oversupply right now. He has no minerals and no gas, so he's going to have a very hard time even doing something sneaky like that. He's now going to push forwards. It looks like he may want to try and push back across his opponent. He does have a good ground composition if it's all sieged up. That's the thing that he needs right now, is to be sieged up and ready to fight. He cannot be caught out in the open because Gaulzi will be able to get a lot of damage done, and he is attempting to get some buildings back up and running right now. He's got some pylons to try and unsupply block himself right now, and Juggler's going to come across, and it looks as if he is going to... Is he going to... He is. He's going to set up just over here across at the... Well, what is normally a third base. So we've got a factory that is just keeping an eye on what's going on. What I would love to see now from Juggler is just setting up a kind of a wall here just to make sure... there you go. He's going to set it up. So just a little bit of a wall to try and choke up some of the Protoss units, and then just maybe try and contain your opponent here in this ridiculously crazy position that I've never really seen before in, like, what, 3 years of casting StarCraft. I've never seen a game that has sort of, I guess, functioned in this way, but it looks as if Gaulzi may be the winner in the end because the Void Rays are starting to come out, and once those guys are out, even if you do have a fair amount of Marines, you can deal with them with some Zealots on the ground. You might be able to get a couple of Stalker shots on them as well. But I think this is going to be a very interesting final battle here between these two players. Juggler now building up a supply depot to try and unblock himself, but it's still quite a way away, given that he is 29 over 19. Is going to have to... There you go, he builds a second supply depot as the mules are going to town on these minerals. But, I mean, this is going to be tough. If Juggler wants to take this, he needs to get an eBay up really quickly. There you go, he's building the eBay. Would rather see this as part of the wall, but I guess not too bad. And then I would like to see a couple of turrets go down for him, just so that he is prepared. Not to mention, if the starport can get a Viking or two out, that'd be wonderful, but it's going to be very hard now, as the Void Ray count has now increased to 3. We've got a 4th one on the way as well. Gaulzi just completely biding his time right now. He knows that as long as he is very careful with these units, does not lose any unnecessarily to charging into tanks like that, then he should be pretty well off here, because the Terran player, well, he's got a bit of work ahead of him. I mean, it's, as I said, it's totally not game over. It's just, it's going to be very tough once those Void Rays come out. So Juggler's going to get a missile turret up. We've got a second rack. He's going to build a few more Marines now as well. Gaulzi, is he got a gateway anywhere? No, we don't have a gateway at all on the map for our Protoss player. So he's gonna have... This could be very weird with how this turns out, but the Void Rays can just burn down everything so incredibly fast. That's the one part I'm worried about for Juggler. But as I said, if he can get a Viking out maybe, that might help out. I still find it a little bit funny that he hasn't actually gone to deal with that, but the Void Rays now come across. They're going to come through and deal a huge amount of damage to this orbital command, and now Gaulzi is going to charge forwards with his units. He's going to be shooting out there with the planetary Fortress of Doom on the Nexus there. Void Rays charging up. Prismatic alignment activated, and he will be able to smash down that orbital command. And now Juggler knows that he is in a lot of trouble. I think the only real thing that he has left to do is to perhaps lift up these buildings, try and use them as coverage on some of his units, and then just try and somehow push forwards and deal with these units here. But the Void Rays are now coming across. Photon Overcharge not available just yet, but it will be in a second here. Once Gaulzi throws that down, this game is basically over. In fact, it's already over as the Void Rays clean up the Marines, and that is basically it. There is a missile turret and a Void Ray left over to defend from Juggler, but it is not going to be enough, as the, you know, that single Viking is just not going to have enough power to be able to deal with these Void Rays here, and even the gateways are going to flower open, and Gaulzi is shortly going to be able to take this one out. Another Void Ray going to be joining the mix, and as the tanks slowly fall, Viking getting not targeted down. I thought that was going to get targeted down, but Gaulzi, in one of the most crazy games ever, takes a victory here against a Juggler. What an insane game. That was the weirdest base trade, and then we had an attempted base reclaim from Juggler, and oh wow. That was pretty insane, but I hope you all enjoyed that one. Leave some comments. Let me know what you think. I'll catch you all next time. Here, as you can see, 47 damage to bio units, and then the 34 damage against other standard targets. His storms have also been wonderful, just spreading them out across the battlefield, doing really, really nicely there. And for minigun, he's been sticking with a much more